Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. What's up, everybody? It's your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Sparza, coming to you on this beautiful, I think it's a Tuesday. Don't remember. Couldn't tell you. But I can tell you that it is 1:25 over here at Best Coast time. And we are fortunate because we're continuing our Save Jiu-Jitsu Gyms series. We're talking with gym owners, giving them an opportunity to tell us some of the hardships that they're facing, some of the struggles that they're facing, and trying to come up with solutions, or at the very least, a good discussion or dialogue about a very difficult time for a number of people, especially those who they teach and those who desperately want to get back to training. So, how do we start today's show? Well, let's start the way we always start, especially for these episodes. As you know, the whole COVID situation sucks for everybody, but one of the things that we are inspiring, or at least trying to encourage everybody to do, is very simple. Take out one of these kind of Post-its, write down the names of 3 persons, places, or things, preferably small businesses, that you would like to go ahead and endorse it and support. So let's say you don't have the means right now to buy a DVD, a technique, a private from. If you could do those things, we would absolutely love that. But if you are also in sort of a financial crunch, the easiest things that you can do are support your gym. You can send them some love. You can reshare some social media posts of there. You can also organize and help to offer volunteer for your gym, because I can tell you this much from everybody we're talking to right now, it is a logistical nightmare trying to deal with about 90 different fires all at once. So these are just simple things that we try to come up with or encourage people to do, because we can all go back to being kind of assholes after COVID. But, you know, for the meantime, it'd be really nice if we did nice things for each other and at the very least helped each other to pull through on this ridiculous landscape that we are currently facing. So let's go ahead and talk today about our guest. Our guest is a man who he's going to be reopening his gym on June 1st, and he lives out in Georgia. He was passed over our way by our good friend Stephen Aiken. And from the little bit I can tell you about this is he owns 2 different gyms, one of which did not make it, one of which, as we mentioned earlier, is going to reopen. So we're going to talk a little bit about the hardships of having to close one business while also getting ready to reopen another during the situation. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to our show today, one Jimmy Barnett. Jimmy, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well, my man. How are you guys?
Not bad, man. We're feeling pretty okay. It's kind of interesting to see that it's getting hotter, summerish here in Los Angeles. So you're having to go from sweatpants to shorts of some sort now.
Heard that.
So, Jimmy, tell me a little bit about you. You're out in Georgia. Were you always out that way? Is that home to you? Is that where you come from? Give me a little bit about you first.
Yeah, man. I was born and raised in Georgia. Been here most of my life. We moved around a lot when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
We settled here when I was about 12. Been here ever since. All over the state, but mostly South Georgia. So yeah.
That makes sense. So let's say, did you start martial arts at Georgia? Like, what age did you start as well?
If you count like Taekwondo, I started when I was 6 and stayed with that forever. And I got introduced to grappling and stuff like that when I was about 18 years old. So I've been grappling since I was 18, consistently, except for when I had back surgery. So other than that, I've been grappling since I was 18.
So when did the back surgery happen?
2012. Hurt myself. I was working a job, steel plant, welding, and hurt myself and had to have surgery. Went in and did some stuff to my lower back.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I've got lower back issues whenever I'm grappling, and I just have to modify my game completely. It's not unbearable, it's just not fun. So it's kind of like when I see people doing birimbolos and stuff like that, I'm like, y'all knock yourselves out.
It's I still go through that a little bit. Like there's still that twinge there, and you got to kind of like, okay, I'm gonna baby this for a day or two.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's kind of like what I've been telling people as well, is that I feel like, especially when we all go back, there's going to be baby steps. You can't go straight back into being like the Matt Savage you think you are in your brain.
Yeah, we had an open mat yesterday at the new 10th Planet Perry. It was like a kind of a soft opening for Stephen Aiken.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I'm feeling it today. I'm like, okay, I could tell I haven't trained in 3 months. So it was good.
How'd you meet Steven?
Actually, I had just got back from back surgery, and the school that I was training with, they were kind of like not doing a whole lot. There wasn't a set schedule. They were just kind of like calling each other and meeting up, type deal. And we had a fight. One of my guys had a fight at Combat Night down in Florida under Mitchell Chamale, uh, Richard Cox, and Josh the Man was like doing this. It was like one of the first combat nights, first and second combat nights. And I met Steven and Chase through that event, and I started training with those guys. And been training with them on and off ever since. So
Steven's a good soul. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for a little bit now, for a few years, and he's just somebody who, when you talk to him, it's very nice, very pleasant, just a good dude. So I'm always like, I don't know, man. With somebody like him, you always feel like, man, I see how you roll. I don't like, you're super nice, but you roll mean, like
yeah.
you got something in you that you can pull out,
So Steven, I really like watching his journey, period, because when I started, he was still that guy. Like he still had that growing to do, and like he was now I'm like what? Like you're letting this guy go? Like, wait a minute. Like watching the person that he become, I'm like, no, you killed me, dude. And now when I tell people the stories like about him, the way he used to be, people don't believe me. And Steven's like, man, hush. That I don't know who that guy is. I don't know but honestly, without Stephen Aiken, like your Cameron Nevilles, this place would never have been here. I sat with Steven and talked with him, and he told me, so he was like, dude, you got to travel, you got to train, you got to get out of this little small town in Georgia. You got to get around these other gyms too. It's not cool to be the big fish in a little pond. Like you have to cross train, you have to get out and get better. And I started traveling. I worked on the road anyway. So I just started hitting every single gym that I could when I was out of town working. And I really, really got super serious about it. And then I called him one day. I was like, look, I want to do this for a living. I want to do this for the rest of my life. Do you think I would be good at doing this? And he was like, go for it. And I opened up Tech Center in Eastman 6 years ago. And it's been my sole income for 5 years now. So, I wouldn't have this place without Steven. So I owe him a lot.
That's very nice. I always like to ask this when I'm doing my normal profiles, but do you have a particular moment that you remember falling in love with jiu-jitsu?
I can tell you exactly what it was because I cried a lot that day. I won a lot in Taekwondo, and like I competed in Worlds, and like I won the team division in Worlds, and like I was that guy in Taekwondo, and I've seen my cousins and all them was like into cage fighting, like the UFCs. They had like all the tapes all the way up to whatever. And I was like, I want to do that. So like we started trying to find, like you didn't really have the internet. Like the internet back then, it was there, but it really wasn't useful. There wasn't a lot of information yet. And so we had to like call around and like call people and try to find a place to train and stuff. And I found this little hole in the wall gym. I come in and the ego in me, my 18-year-old self was like, oh, I already know how to strike. I just need to learn how not to be taken down, and I'll be the world's greatest cage fighter on planet Earth. And I'm exaggerating a lot, but that's basically what it was. I just told the coach, like, I just need to learn how not to be taken down. And the coach was like, oh, really? Okay. Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna let you spar with that guy over there. We're gonna set this timer up. And if you get put in a bad position that you don't like, all you gotta do is pat him. He'll let you go. Now, if he pats you, you have to let him go. You understand? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I look across the room, and there's this 14-year-old kid, been wrestling his whole life. And I drove like an hour and 45 minutes to get to this gym. And this kid been wrestling his whole life, and this coach had just set me up with him. And I'm like a foot and a half taller than this kid. And I'm not a big man by no means. I'm 5'10", 138 pounds. I'm a little guy too. But I was bigger than this kid, and I'm like, dude, you don't want to put me with this kid. He's like, oh, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. And I was like, okay. Kid blast doubled me and tapped me out in 3 seconds. Knocked all the air out of me. And then he did it 17 more times in a 3-minute round, like just destroyed me. And I stayed the rest of the day because I had pride. And I was like, ugh. I sat in a truck for like 2 hours before I could leave because I was so exhausted. I got home and I'm sitting on the end of my bed and I'm just crying because I thought I was a fighter, thought I was a competitor. I've been kickboxing, been boxing, did taekwondo tournaments my whole life. Like I got a black belt in taekwondo, keto, been boxing. Like I'm this guy that prided myself on knowing how to fight. And this kid just dismantled me in like 3 seconds. And I was just looking, and they said, well, what are you going to do? My family was like, what are you going to do? And I said, what do you mean what am I going to do? I'm going back. I got to learn how to do this. I can't let him get away with that. And it's been all downhill from there. I've loved it ever since. I love the fact that I'm a small person that can, do that type of thing because of this sport. So, yeah. No long story.
Hey, no, believe me, I've heard much longer. But more importantly, it's one that I think you hear so many times, especially the longer that you stay in the sport, you start to be relieved as you hear more and more people say a story like that, because so many people start off with that exact mentality. I can't tell you how many of these interviews I've done, be it people who are just new to jiu-jitsu or the guys who are the ones that you see who dominate it. Like when you ask, like, well, how did you start? A lot of them have that, like, man, I watched UFC and then I walked in and then I was like, what, little guy, what are you doing here? That's the question I have. So I've got two on this. The first is, at any point during those roles with that one guy, the one wrestler, did you think to yourself, hey man, if we do this taekwondo, I'm gonna murder you, kind of a thing?
Okay, so not taekwondo, but it was more or less like it was striking. The coach was letting me hit him. I just couldn't. So I didn't really have that mentality. It was more, well, he just keeps taking me down. Like if he didn't take me down, that was more of the long run. Like if he would actually stand and bang with me, stand to fight, then it would be different. But me being me, I realized immediately, like, okay, I have to learn this because this is a huge weakness. It made me feel like it's kind of like I knew myself as a fighter, and all of my family and everybody knew me as a fighter. And then I just had a kid mollywop me, like he just, he put the thumpers on me and like that. And I was like, okay, I'm not a fighter. I thought I was. And now I need to go home and cry myself to sleep because I'm not who I thought I was.
So. Well, clearly you stuck with it. And the second question I had, and this is one that I wonder, have you had somebody like yourself come to the gym and show up? Because it's one thing to experience it yourself, but then to be on the other side and witnessing it and going, I know what's happening here. Come here.
Yeah, it's happened so many times. In the gyms that I trained at, it's happened at this school here. And the funny thing is like, I was telling Steven, he just opened up in Perry, Georgia, like the 10th Planet. And I'm trying to tell him, like, hey, Steven, like, this is South Georgia. Like, you got these guys that are like, oh, hit him that punch boy right hand, that grappling stuff. They still have this mentality. And training people to get that and understand it. I'm in a small town, man. Like I think our like there's 4,000 people in my town. That's it. Like it's a little town, And it was the hardest thing I ever had to do ever, is to kind of like show people like, okay, like I understand that you think you're going to hit somebody. You've never trained to throw that punch before in your life. When you understand that you think that, this is what's really going to happen. And it's so hard to take that ego and not injure it and turn them into a paying, contributive member of the gym. There's a fine line between saying, okay, let me show you this works, or okay, let me hurt your ego to the point you never come back. And it's such a small line that it's crazy here, especially because we really do have that mentality, that farm boy mentality, like I'll grab you and slam you and punch you, and there's nothing you could do about it, little man mentality everywhere. And then you kind of baby them and show them into that and lead them into that direction to try to turn them into a member, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've often sometimes said that jiu-jitsu is essentially a pyramid scheme where, you know, we got to do the sell at some point and we're going to be like, hey, bro, bring 2 more of your bros. It'll be great. Come on over this way. Don't worry. You're going to love it, though. It's actually great. The other thing that I've always laughed about, it just in terms of this, is that I feel like it's a continual circle of life. That person becomes somebody who walks somebody through it at some point. Like, it's just funny to now be on the side where you witness it and realizing the signs before they know it, where you're like, uh-oh, let me do this. Because I have a saying at my gym, which is usually, there are guys who I say, don't let them roll with that guy. Let them roll with me. And they're like, yeah. I was like, everybody knows I'm not going to hurt anybody and I'll be just fine. They can go nuts. So my gym is usually like, they'll just go, let Raph roll with them first, because my vibe is usually like, it's not my gym, but my vibe is always, I'm very defense heavy. So if they're going nuts, I'm usually just like, all right, am I going to beat you up now or not? I'm just kind of bored. All right, dude. At the end, they're always like, how'd you do all that? And I'm like, listen, dude, jiu-jitsu's for everybody. Literally, the young kid over there to this old guy over here to me, like, you'll love it. You'll just learn how to use what is your natural attributes and skills and use that to a certain extent. And mine is almost being a sloth. So, you know, everybody's got their thing, dude. So that's a pretty good thing to hear. Let me ask this, dude. When did you start shutting down operations in response to COVID?
So it was in March. Like they made us shut down on March 24th. But a week and a half before that, I started being like, okay, some people just not showing up. I noticed my attendance was really starting to get low. So I started going live in our private pages and being like, okay, guys, if you're worried about it, we can get together in smaller groups. I'll get here earlier. We can, we can, sorry, I have a hiccup. But yeah, I was like, we can get together and do smaller groups here throughout the day. Just block out your days and we'll block out the time. We'll try to make something happen so you can still train. Then when they forced us to shut down, that's why it took me a little bit to get ready today for this podcast, because I had all my stuff set up for Zoom, because we're doing Zoom classes in the afternoon and have been ever since. Our kids' classes, we do 2 Zoom classes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then our adult classes, we do 1 Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that's basically what we've been offering people to kind of make up for, them not being able to come into the facility. And we also been doing like a technique of the week and posting it on our group and on our YouTube.
So you have to correct me if I'm wrong on this, and I apologize if I'm getting this wrong. Did you say that you had certain students at one of your gyms, because you had 2 that were starting as back as like maybe January, showing a little of apprehension toward this?
Oh yeah. Yeah. End of January, beginning of February, we started having people go, we're hearing all this crazy stuff. Like, we don't know. We don't really want to get this sick. And like my attendance and stuff started like getting smaller, and like, what's going on? Like, I didn't even know about it. Like, I don't follow the news. I don't even watch any news at all. Like, it's funny. Like, if it ain't in a Facebook meme, then I don't even know about it. Like, I do not follow the news at all. If it don't have anything to do with science or jiu-jitsu, I probably don't know about it. And so it's silly, but it's true. And I had my students coming in like, are you shutting down? What are you doing for COVID? I'm like, what's COVID? What's the COVID? And they started like telling me about it, and I'm like, oh, this is real? Like, are you sure? Like, is this a joke? And then I realized, like, holy cow, there's gyms that didn't make it through this. There's gyms that have been shut down. They're shutting down. I started taking it serious when a friend of mine from Maryland, Mike Stewart, closed his gym. When he closed his gym and made like this big post, like about, I'm sorry guys for the safety, this and this and this, like, we're closing. I was like, oh wow, this must be real. So I when that happened, I was like, okay. So I started trying to research it and do those things. You know?
Yeah, because I mean, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people didn't have a giant fear about it until really March. You know, they might have been looking at it, but everybody had a distance toward it. Maybe February they acknowledged, okay, there's something happening here, but most people weren't that worried about it. So not only do you have the actual government shutdown where you're forced to shut down, but you're talking about an apprehension from potential students dating all the way back to January, February. So let's also take this in the perspective of you had two gyms. Now paint the picture for me. How far are these two gyms in Georgia from one another?
An hour and 10 minutes.
Hour and 10 minutes.
Hour and 10 minutes. One's in Eastman, Georgia, and one was in Douglas, Georgia. Hey, hold on 1 second. Give me 2 seconds.
Go right ahead. I'll plug you out for a second. We're talking today with one Jimmy Barnett. He is taking a moment to go there, but it's a good reminder to you guys. If you haven't followed us, subscribe to us, all that good junk. If you could be so kind, that would be great. We are continuing our hashtag. Hold on, it's up here. It's hard to see, but it's the hashtag Save Jiu-Jitsu Gyms series. We're talking with those folks. If you know people that would like to chat with us about the hardships that they're going through and have some good dialogue about it, I'm more than happy to talk to people. If there's one thing I'm good at, it is talking to people. So I'd be happy to talk to them. Just tell them to get in touch with me or, DM me, all that sort of stuff. Let me see. In fact, I've got somebody right now who will be talking with our good friend, Johnny Buck. I will definitely chat with him.
Oh, Johnny.
Except gi, guys. How dare you? Every time, Johnny Buck. I'm not, you know what, Johnny, I take it back. You're not on the show anymore. If you don't learn how to love the gi, then I'm not going to put you on my show. How dare you? Anyway, so Jimmy, this is dating back. Okay, we're talking about an hour and 10 between the two different places. How were you splitting that time? Was it because you said that you opened back in July-ish or September, somewhere in that 5-6 months before out?
Yeah, September.
September.
And I opened Douglas in September. And we had just got Eastman to a point to where I could implement coaches and get people in there and like take up most of my classes. Mm-hmm. I was coaching in Eastman 2 days a week during the advanced classes. And then I was coaching in Douglas 2 days a week and basically doing beginners. And then I had hired another coach in Douglas to run classes and run a program up there as well. So just hiring coaches, hiring appointment setters, and a manager type thing.
And let me ask, how long did it take you to really get what you felt was a good footing in at the Eastman location? Because a lot of people say that you really don't have an idea of what your business is going to look like for jiu-jitsu gyms maybe 3 years into it. You know, you need time to build.
So it was a blessing to me. We had Steve Greer was doing like a Gracie Garage for kids. He was the wrestling coach here in Eastman, and he was doing a Gracie Garage because he's like one of those. He's like a ranger, special forces. Like he's a super like soldier. Not making that up. That dude is a beast. But he was doing a Gracie Garage, and he was calling it Greer Jiu-Jitsu. And then it got to a point where the school was like, okay, you can't. It was a like borderline. You're not. No, we don't need you doing this at the school anymore at the wrestling room. And I had just come in. I had just opened my gym, and he was like, "Hey, like we're doing this here. I have all these students and stuff needing somewhere to go." So the day I opened, I had 30 members. Like the day I opened,
Wow.
and it was crazy. Like, and I'm talking about they were all standing at the door, like, "How much does it cost?" Okay, and they were just ready to go. And Coach Greer coached here for a year before he moved to Millersville and took over a school there. And all of his people just stayed. But I didn't really start making a living doing this until like the midway of the second year. Midway of second year is when I really started being able to quit doing my other job, like quit being able to work a part-time and do this, for like my income for my living. And that's a funny story too. Like I quit a job. I was making $200,000 a year doing environmental work, and it was Christmas Eve. And my boss, I was like ready to go home, and my boss was like, "No, we got to finish the job." And I was just standing there, and I was like, "No, it's Christmas. I'm going home." And he was like, "No, will you finish this job and go home tomorrow?" And I was like, I'll be back on the 28th. I'm going to spend some time with my family. And he was like, "Well, if you leave, don't worry about coming back." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I want to teach jiu-jitsu anyway." And I just quit. I just quit my job like overnight. I just decided, and I went and got a maintenance job at a hotel, and I took my savings and opened a school. Man, it's one of those things. Just decided.
I will tell you this. It is a large jump to be going from a business or an industry where you are making $200,000 to teaching jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to be an adjustment. It doesn't mean that you don't have some money to lean on, but like it's going to be a different life, especially
it was hard.
It
was so hard. I went from making $200,000 a year to making 25. It was ridiculously hard. Like my lifestyle changed completely, but where I would do it a million times over. It was the best thing I ever did for myself.
Man, that's good. And I'm glad because so many people will go to those kind of jobs and not leave them because the security, even though it comes at the expense of maybe feeling like you're living a life. So I think it's a good trade-off if you are truly feeling it. And I mean, on the same side, like you said, if it does take a little while, and man, what a good thing to fall into. Having 30 students ready to go from day one is great. I would maybe take a ventured guess to say at the Douglas Academy, you didn't have that windfall going in. So that meant you had to build, you had to do marketing, you had to do infrastructure, and all of that was still at the investment phase, or at least the building phase, right?
Right. Yes, sir. I didn't have any of that base. I'm actually, marketing wise, I was more popular in Douglas because I fought there before. And like, I had that, people are like, "Oh, Jimmy's the MMA guy." I had that nostalgia around me in Douglas, but it still didn't translate to members. It was like, "Oh, I know him. Oh, he's cool," but it's not something that I'm sure I want to do yet. It was still, and again, it's Georgia, man. Like, you still have to deal with that mentality of "I don't know how to fight" mentality. Like, you still have to deal with that. It building over there was hard, And it was starting to get right when we started to gain traction. We got shut out.
So when did you have to make the decision to close?
So we were forced to shut down on the 24th in Douglas, and then my rent's due on the 5th, and then the rest of my utilities and all my other overhead was due on the 15th. So I went to them and I was like, "Hey man, they're forcing us to shut down. Can you help me? Like I'm not gonna have the income to pay this rent. Is there anything that we can do?" And he was like, "Yeah, just don't worry about the rent until you get ready to reopen." And I was like, "Oh, cool. That's great." So I was telling my guys like, "Okay, well, we're gonna make it through this." Like the ones that had already did paid in fulls, the ones that had already done other things, like we're gonna make it through this. They're working with us. And then so it was March, April. April come around and the guy sent me a text and he was like, "Yeah, here's what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna up your rent an extra $400 a month starting in June to catch you up for all the rent that you needed." And then I started running numbers and I was like, "I'm not gonna be able to do this. Like it would cost me the school in Eastman or cost me, something." Like I had to weigh my options and I had to go like, "Okay, how can I do this?" And then I went, "Okay, I'm bleeding out money now, like too much money. I'm actually spending more money than I'm making by trying to hold on to the Douglas school. But if I let go of the Douglas school, I'm making more than enough to sustain Eastman, which is where the majority of my income is." And I just had to make that decision. Like the force of me being closed for that long, it cost me income because in Douglas, no one stuck by. Like immediately they were like, "I'm gonna cancel my membership till you reopen." In Eastman, like hardly anybody said I wanted to cancel my membership. They were like, "We're here until you open." So there was a difference of mentality because there were people that have invested their lives into this place and changed their lives through this place. So it was just a really big different mentality too. So it sucked because that was the first time I ever tried to branch out or try to do, and I gave a lot of my heart and time. I lost a lot of money in this deal too, like a lot. Because mats, I had a cage over there, bags, like we had desk and like we had everything set up. I lost a lot of money on that whole ordeal. And anyway.
Well, obviously, this is part of the reality that we're talking about with people that sucks. This is part of when people are talking about small businesses that are going to be hurt, this is exactly what we don't want for people to be going through. And obviously on paper, as much as we want it not to happen, the reality is, well, it's going to happen if there's not an allowed ability to do what you do. Well, what did your students there say? Did they express any interest in maybe going to your Eastman Academy? Was that even a consideration? Because again, I know that's so soon for a lot of those students to be faced with another problem for themselves as well.
Yeah, I've actually had 3 come to me and like, we'll make that drive, because they were driving. They're actually they're closer to Douglas School, but they're still close enough to Eastman that they can make the drive. It's a little bit short of a drive. So I've had 3 that were like, we're still training. And then we got a group of guys that were like competitors that were showing up, like putting in extra time during lunch, showing up, that a friend of mine, Wyatt, had really taken under his wing and was like pushing them to be competitors in jiu-jitsu tournaments and MMA. And like those guys are like, "Hey, we're here. If you find another building or if you want to, try this again, like we're coming back." So it was, a lot of those guys are sad that they don't have a place to train anymore. And then there's like some of the people are like, we're still trying to work it out to where they can still figure out how to train or figure out how to be involved with our lineage and stuff, you know.
So every state is different. What is the current status over in Georgia? I know for Atlanta, some things have kind of gone back in terms of that, but what does that mean for the state as a whole?
So from my understanding, so I don't like I get my news from Facebook. I'm just kidding on that, but yeah, from my understanding, there's 3 phases. Like phase 1, which was complete quarantine or whatever. Phase 2 was like now you're allowed to be in public places, but you still got a social distance, which is where we are now.
Okay.
And then phase 3, which was supposed to be June 1st, they're like, okay, we're opening the world back up. We're allowing you to open your gyms. You still don't need so many people per square foot or whatever, but like there's still some small little guidelines, like you got to be more clean. But our gym, like anybody that's ever trained with us, like it smells good. Like we keep our gym clean. I have a maintenance guy that comes in the morning. He washes all our lawn geese. He disinfects. He cleans up the place. He cleans the mats. We clean the mats after our classes. Like this place has always been super clean. Like because I personally don't want staph or ringworm anyway. So like we keep our mats super clean and keep our gym. And I want it to smell good, so when people come in, they're like, "Oh man, that's the cleanest smelling gym I've ever been in." And I was very on that end of it anyway, because I don't like to train in a sweat box, you know, like a place that smells bad. And I don't know if it's my sensitive nose because it's been broke so many times or what, but I like a clean place, clean environment. But anyway, man, we just keeping the place clean. And I told everybody we're opening June 1st. I don't care if they loosen up the restrictions. They're gonna have to come arrest me. I'm opening up. I'm gonna run my classes. I think I'm gonna shorten classes and make them a little smaller so they're a little more one-on-one. But just to give us a little more time in between and changing out and stuff. But not much is gonna change. Not a lot from what we was already doing. And I'm just looking forward to seeing who all showed up. Steven's open mat was awesome. Like everybody showed up. Like nobody cared. Everybody was just like, "Hey, I missed this. I was ready." They were ready to roll. Like it was great. This is one of the best days in like 4 months that I've had in my life. Like trying to get people trying to choke me and stuff. It felt normal.
What is something that you wish people understood, maybe outside of our sport, in terms of how this has impacted both you and your business?
One thing is that not like our businesses didn't get these grants that they're talking about. We didn't get help. Like there was no help. Like if it wasn't for our people supporting us and our people joining in on the Zoom calls and being okay with training in their living rooms and knowing that we need to be there, whatever, there was no help. We didn't get any loans or anything. We applied. We tried. Like we legitimately tried to get help from the government and stuff, and like it just didn't happen, which I didn't expect a lot from it anyway. But we did like there was no help, and they're like, "Oh, you're this and that." Like, no, y'all, we were forced to close, like completely shut down. Our income was gone. It was cut, and then like everybody's like, "Oh, well, it's for the betterment of or the safety of other people that are high risk." And my thought process the whole time was like, well, why don't the high risk people stay home and everybody else carry on with their lives and like, let us do our work? I realized how much jiu-jitsu means to me during all this. This is my way of helping people reach their goals. This is my way of feeling like I give back to the world. And I feel really good about what I do. And when that got taken away from me, I'm not a very happy person. I've been in a bad place mentally, I guess. Not like bad mentally, but like I've just been like what'd you say? Like to everybody just like super amped up because this is how I relieve stress. And I think a lot of people like me are just ready to get back to it, I think. But anyway, there was no help. That's what I want to get across is like if you're not supporting your gyms and you're not like your gyms, like we're still offering value. We're still on the Zoom, we're still doing things. We're not just expecting people to support us, but we're here. We're offering Zooms. We're offering techniques of the week. Like support your gyms. Like they need it. The government it did not. They didn't give us any of the grants. They didn't give us any of these loans that they're talking about. These forgiving loans. Like we didn't get any of that. We applied. We tried. Trust me, we tried because we needed it. And Eastman made it. Like we're making it, and I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure that this place is what it needs to be for people to be able to come back and train like they need to. So
I'd like to ask, how do you envision going forward? Because, you say Eastman's going to be good, and that's great to hear. But obviously there's going to be attempts, wants, desires to recoup what it is that you weren't able to do for the months that you weren't able to trade, or even teach classes. So I guess the question I've been trying to ask people to get an idea of, we like to say step one is opening, but that's not the end step.
no, that's the hard.
Yeah, once you're back open, that's great, but then we've got to make sure you're still around. So
Right.
How do you envision that next step being for you in your gym?
Well, the first thing that we assured everyone is like we're clean, and we got air purifiers and all this stuff. So like you don't worry, and we got these little temperature checkers, like checking people's temperatures. We're just doing that to make people feel better about it. But I think we're gonna have a boom of people that are just tired of being in their houses. But so I think the people that we lost during all this that are just like bunkering down, that are super scared, are
Give me
hunkering
1
down.
second. I think I lost you on your sound. I'm
Okay.
gonna see if I have it on the video. Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Jimmy, try to say something real quick.
What's up, my man?
You're okay there. Okay,
Yeah,
Jimmy.
I just shut my Bluetooth off.
No, you're good. It just switched.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue talking. I'm
Oh,
very sorry.
yeah. No, hey, no problem, man. Like I said, I got a little podcast, and I understand. Trust me. So what I was saying is like we're gonna do things to try to make people feel safer, obviously. But I think that it's gonna be a trade-off. You're gonna have new people that are just tired of being in the house that are looking to do something new. And I think that you're going to have some people that are like, I don't feel safe, and they're not going to come out. So I think that for the people that we lost, we're going to have just as many that are ready that don't take it as serious, that want to get back after it. So we just got to market and let people know we're here and let people know that this is an option. And another thing that we are doing and we're going to continue to do, because I actually enjoy it, is we do a Zoom class for fitness kickboxing, and we got that set up in front of the camera. And there's a lot of people that have voiced their opinion. They're like, "Yeah, I don't like being in front of people. I don't like going to the gym. This is perfect, and we want you to keep it around." Like I've probably sold 15 or 20. I was just ballparking it. Membership since the quarantine shut down to Zoom cardio or Zoom fitness kickboxing classes. And I'm going to continue to run those classes, run those programs.
That's great, man. I have to appreciate the hustle there. I think that's super great, especially one thing that I've been proud of a number of people for doing is finding creative ways to get around some of these roadblocks. And I know that's not an easy task. I know sometimes motivating people who feel a little bit not wanting to reciprocate on the motivation is hard to do because you have to both light the match do the candle, buy the candle, and get them to be there sometimes. And then sometimes you got to make sure that nothing blows out the candle. So, you're doing a heavy load there, but the fact that you could show that you can continue to thrive in that respect is so, so great. One thing I'm curious about is because I know my networks out here in Southern California. I'm not as familiar with the South. I have lots of friends. Obviously, I know a lot of the same people you do. But what does that support network look like to you? Is there a group of gym owners that have you guys been talking with each other? Have you guys, what is your affiliation? Have they been talking? Who has been somebody that you've reliably been able to talk to about the situation?
I reached out to Bubby Mitchell. He owns a Rush over in Macon, and it's an American Top Team in Macon. I reached out to him. I talked to him a ton. I talked to Steven a ton, even though Steven wasn't open yet. Mm-hmm. I talked to him a ton. I talked to Wade Rome. Wade Rome actually put together an entire group of BJJ school owners in Messenger, and like everybody's been sharing information across platforms. Just sharing information that way, like about what they're doing. Jennifer Waters has been a huge mentor, a huge help. Jennifer Waters, she basically was like, okay, are you doing Zoom? I'm like, yes. She was like, okay, how are you signing people up? I'm like, well, I'm not. And she's like, well, you're slowly gonna lose money if you're not signing people up. You need to learn how to sign people up. And she kind of like, I messaged her, like, how are you doing this? And I don't know how to sign somebody up over the phone, And she kind of just talked us through it, and then I was like, okay, I got it. So Jennifer Waters, also a good friend of mine, Alan Belcher, has been like pushing a lot of his stuff. Johnny Buck, Mike Stewart, like all of these guys, we've all just been talking, communicating, and trying to make sure that we stay on that hustle and being able to adapt and stay open and stay growing, even though all this is happening. And it's working out. I'm ready to be back on my mat. I'm tired of standing in front of my phone, doing all this. Like, you ever tried to teach somebody a solo drill for a judo throw? I'm like, oh my God. It's like, there's no one here, sir. I come up with so many solo drills, and that it has been so hard to come up with solo drills for moves, like new solo drills that keep people looking at their phone and keeping them going in their living room. Sorry about my chair, it's rattled.
You're fine.
But yeah, trying to get so many people to practice these drills that you just made up using a chair or whatever, like a prop in your house. Like, it's been one of those things, man. But it's been an experience, and I'm glad that people have stuck with us and been such a blessing to our school, and especially for the community rallying together and trying to, like, what are you doing, and like communicating what they're doing, and not asking us to pay, or not asking us to like buy their knowledge. Like, everybody's just been open arms, sharing information, trying to make sure that our jiu-jitsu schools stay open. And man, it broke my heart. Like, in our group, there's like 70 or 80 people in there, and like half have lost their schools. Like, they're like, we're permanently closed, we're never opening again. And then the other half is like, well, we're doing okay. And then you got a few that are like, oh, we're growing. Our Zoom and stuff's growing. So it's been across the board. It's weird.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is, and especially I'm sure you can relate on the side of, you both are thriving in one sense, but then you had to close. So you understand both of those worlds very well right now, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. Both of them. I felt it from both sides. And it sucks on one hand, and on the other hand, it kind of feels really, really good knowing that my people and that they support our gym and like they care about this place. So It's pretty cool to know that we can get through something like this, and to know that we can grow, and that people are still like, we got people banging on the doors like, when are you open? I'm ready. Let's go. Like, can we do something today? And I'm like, June 1st.
June 1st.
June 1st.
It's coming closer than you think, kids. So, man, well, again, I thank you so much for the conversation. I thank you for all those sorts of things. Obviously, I think it's great that you have a jiu-jitsu group, because my other biggest fear is that there are so many gym owners who might feel alone in this situation. So much in the same way we check on people and being like, you know, are you okay? You're with your friends, or saying like, hey, I just wanted to call and see that. I think like almost with gym owners, we're trying to encourage and foster, you know, hey, make those seminars happen in a couple months. Make those somehow you can, you know, reap benefits or kind of exchange goods in that way, because whatever it is that we can do to help people survive, we need to be doing that, in my opinion.
Yes, sir, I agree 100%. And I'm looking forward to seeing what it does and how things change. But I'm also knowing that like, however it changes, we'll adapt and we'll continue to do what we love to do. This is what I was built for, and without it, I'm not a happy camper. I'm not a happy person. So I'm gonna figure out a way to make it happen, and keep people interested and keep people showing up, I guess, but best we can anyway, you know. So.
Well, Jimmy, as we start to round third, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, just to. I've been trying to ask people this as well, much of the same way that I've asked, you know, what do people not know in the sport? I've also been asking, what is it that you need? Like, how's a way to support you? And so I want to give you the opportunity not just to thank, you know, whoever you want to thank or talk about that, but I'll have the camera go directly to you. And I'd love for you to say the ways in which people can support you, be it financial, be it social media, be it, you know, just saying hello, stopping by your gym, giving all those details. Because to me, I want to make sure that everybody who does come on our show has the ability to say those ways that make sure that you don't have to close another gym.
Heck yeah. Right. So the biggest way people can support our gym or help us is by sharing our stuff on social media, getting us out there, letting people know, and helping us basically know that we're here and that we're still trying to operate. We're going to be open June 1st. So you see our stuff, share it, like it, post it. That's the best thing for us is that's how we're marketing. Follow us on Instagram, Snapchat. It's Tech Center, TECT Center. It's right there on the wall behind me. For some reason, everybody wants to spell it with an H. I don't get it. I'm just playing, but it's Tech with a T. So follow us, like our pages, share our stuff, let people know we're here. We're starting. We're going to be posting on Tech Talk, which will be our new podcast that we started building during this whole COVID thing, trying to get that out there and talk about that. And man, if you're anywhere near Eastman, Georgia, come check us out. Drop in, say hey to us, sign a waiver, get on the mat, train with us, come have some fun with us, come see what all the hype's about. If you're anywhere near Perry, come check out 10th Planet Perry. Warner Robbins, Cole Miller Martial Arts, are making Rush MMA. All of these people are my friends and my family. If you're near Valdosta, Georgia, you got American Top Team, Valdosta. All these are great places to train, and just to support jiu-jitsu, guys. Just show up, train at these places, or come check us out. And you know, like I said, come see what all the hype's about. It really will change your life. And just share their stuff. Let people know we're here. That's the biggest and best way that you can really support us. And man, I appreciate you guys giving me this time today. Tech Center, Eastman, Georgia.
That's the easy part. But here's the only thing I'm going to caveat with. Now, I just want to make sure I'm hearing this right, because I heard it twice. So you said you started a podcast in this whole ordeal?
Yes, sir.
Just that, everything else is fine. Just listen, dude. We got enough. Do you know how many other podcasts we got now? We got 50 million podcasts. No, I'm just kidding with you. No, I've been giving mess because I've been laughing so much at like all of my friends who have started a podcast. And every one of them is like, hey, Raf, you know we started a podcast. I was like, I know you have. I know. I have eyes everywhere, my friends. So I know what you're doing. Just don't book my guests on the same day, and I don't care.
So I'll tell you, like, I got this 10-foot table with 4 mics set up, with camera set up. Like I went all out with it. It's nice. It's a nice studio. It's like Joe Rogan style. Now I'll probably me running a podcast is probably silly in itself, but I'm gonna enjoy every minute of it because I actually enjoy this. Like I was so stoked when you asked me to be on this. I was like, yes, I want to be on all the podcasts in the world. Like I enjoy it.
I'll tell you this much is that I know what it does for me, and I know what my skills in particular are in service of this sport. I feel, especially given what you've gone through, it's going to serve as a little bit of catharsis because it's going to hold a special meaning to you in terms of finding an outlet and an ability to communicate with people who all have a shared experience. And then from there, it's going to grow into something else. So my best thing to do, and the best advice I always give people is, the first thing I tell people is find what makes you different, because the issue I have with so many podcasts is that they all sound the same. They all ask the same questions. They all do the same thing. But once those podcasts figure out what makes them unique, then I tune into them. Because then I want to be like, oh, they do this thing. Oh, that's their thing. Good for them. But two is that, especially through this, I feel like as martial artists, you know, we all kind of do our own thing. And when we get to talk about it, there's an excitement. So when you find what it is that makes you excited to do this and ask people and genuinely listen and then get to hear their perspectives, you're going to find that you talk less and that you pull yourself away from having to be in it. And
I've actually experienced that.
Good.
I have experienced that. It's awesome, dude. Hearing people talk about how they got started and stuff. And my favorite question so far has been, have you ever been in a fight? And what was your favorite one? Describe it to us. And it's hilarious. It's a great question.
It's a great start off, especially for our sport, where there are going to be some people that you go, how have you never been into a fight with some of the fighters? Because there are so many fighters that you're like, wait, what? How? Like, when I tell people I've never been in a fight, they're like, oh, that makes sense. But when I hear it from a certain fighter that makes money fighting for a living, and I go, huh? And they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't fight until I had to. Now I got to. So, oops. Oh, and I'm pretty good at it. And you're like, damn, dude, that's pretty good. Good for you.
Yeah, that's my favorite. And then hearing those stories is great. So,
well, Jimmy, where can people find your podcast? Where is it?
We actually just built I've already recorded 4, and we just started we just did the YouTube Tech Talk. We just did all that, but we haven't even posted any of them yet because I want to get a few so I can do it at the same time every week. So I haven't live streamed because I was a little scared of that because like I said, I got like a Rodecaster Pro and like all this nice little setup, and I'm just a little nervous about it. Like I've never done anything like this, but I've enjoyed it so much. Even if nobody else has enjoyed it, I love it. It's been so much fun to me.
Like I said, I feel like, you know, one thing we saw is numbers went up across the board from people who wanted content after this whole thing. So don't be surprised if people are still gobbling up content. And it's a great way to brand your gyms and to make sure your businesses stay open. So I feel like it's a huge win. And, you know, the nice part about it is you start doing them, you serve a community, and there's a whole subset of folks in Georgia that I'm sure never really get to tell their stories. So if you could help those people tell those stories, I will 100% be listening in and checking in on you guys.
Hey, man, thank you so much. And thank you for having me, man. It meant a lot to me that you guys wanted to hear what we're going through with all this, and I really just wanted to share that, and I, like I said, as a podcast, man, I'm down. Like I had a lot of fun. So thank you.
Appreciate you, Jimmy. Thank you so much for your honesty. Stick around. I'll talk with you in just a second. I'm just going to close up shop here real quick. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Well, that was a great conversation with one Jimmy Barnett. We appreciate him. We appreciate his time. We appreciate you. And just to remind you guys, the way that we're going to get through this thing is by supporting each other. So the way we are encouraging people to do that is very simple. Take out a Post-it note, write 3 names, people, places, gyms, especially gyms, small businesses, if you can, and find ways you're going to support. And even if you can't support a gym every single day, there's somebody out there you can support. And if that means buying a DVD, a seminar, a private, good Lord, most of your jiu-jitsu is going to be garbage anyway. So you better learn how to get good at jiu-jitsu again. Buy a private from somebody. If you can't do any of those things, I understand. Finances being what they are. The simplest thing you can do is volunteer for your gym, find time to donate to them, help them organize, because once we start going back to training, it is not going to be easy for gyms to maybe change some of their policies and implement it, or at the very least communicate with other gyms. So that might be a very, very helpful tool. And if you can't do any of those things, the simplest thing you can do, find people that you can check in on your gym. What I'm doing is I'm talking shit to every single person at my gym to let them know that I'm going to beat them up because I care. Also, if we're being honest, I'm starting to think we're getting to that point where we are going to train again soon. And I'm not going to be able to do half of the things I said I was going to do to them, but it'll help me get back in shape sooner than not. Anyway, my friends, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We continue our series of Save Jiu-Jitsu gyms tomorrow, same time at 1 p.m. Best Coast time. We are going to be doing them. If you want somebody or know somebody that could benefit from talking, more than happy to help out and do what I can. Have them slide into my DMs, have them message me privately. You guys know I'm not hard to get a hold of. So we're happy to continue doing this for as long as we can. We want to try and reach as many gym owners as possible. But in the meantime, we're going to sign off for today. My thanks to everybody for watching. We hope that you have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you back on the mats eventually.